Hello YouTube and welcome back to another gameplay video. Today we're going to be playing a game that I believe has got a fair amount of hate ever since it was first released. It is called The War Z. It is a zombie apocalyptic MMO essentially, where you can jump from server to server, PvPing with other players, looting, and in some strange way leveling up. I figured I'd put together a quick beginner's guide or just like an introduction for people that haven't played before. This is the first screen that you'll see when you log in. We're just going to jump in with a new character. I figured I'd show you some of the basics of the game. That way we can get a little bit introduced to it. I really don't think it's that bad of a game. I don't have a lot of trust in the developers, just like a lot of people that play it. It is a really great idea that neither this one nor the other popular version, essentially the one that people believe this one cashed in on, which is DayZ, which is a mod of another game on Steam called Arma 2. DayZ, I haven't played DayZ. I opted to buy this one instead because it was half the price and it didn't require installing a mod. This game is a standalone game. They've had some pretty significant problems lately, but to be honest, watching both games being played and having played this one specifically, both games pretty much have a good degree of bugs and shit that they have to work out. But I'm going to go ahead and create a character here, and we're going to dive right in. Obviously, I won't make it wait through the loading screen, but we'll just see if we can put a basic name in here. I'm assuming that name is okay. We'll go with the cage fighter who I just purchased. All these heads are kind of scary looking. That's probably the most normal looking one. Alright, what do we think? See, he's wearing a fucking life jacket. And this one looks like he's the goddamn Terminator. Alright, I'm not really digging any of these combinations, but we want to look a little military here. He kind of looks like the Red Ranger, doesn't he? Yeah, we'll go with that, why not? Is that name not taken? Sweet, we'll play that name. Alright, and I'm also going to hop on. Well, before I hop on, you see your basic stats on the side here. I'll explain more of that as you go in. There's a lot of PvPing going on, but I'm going to jump into a private server just to show you some of the good farming spots. I'll show you some of the basics of the game. Basically, if it's something you're considering getting, this is going to be like a little bit of a review, kind of, sort of. But you have two things on the screen here. First is a skill tree. They all require, obviously, experience points to level up. There's a physical tree here, which increases your damage and your gun skills, such as increasing your held breath time with snipers or reducing weapon spread, as it says down there. There's a few trees that aren't implemented yet. These are it looks like a weapon degradation one, and this one's a gunsmith, so I'm assuming that's going to be a gun creation, and this one will obviously be a repair tree. Excuse me. And then this top one up here is all physical, increasing your health, your stamina, reducing your carrying weight, which is a big deal. And then down here we have our basic survival tree, such as reducing your hunger, increasing the power of your healing items, because in this game you do have to worry about your hunger and your thirst, which I believe is a good stroke of realism, but nothing too serious. So that way it won't turn away, your more casual players, but your players who are looking for a little more realism will also get just a little bit more of what they're looking for. And then last but not least, you have your inventory here. This is my global inventory. I do have another character or two that I play a lot of, so I have a good amount stashed in here. Nothing too crazy. I've got a couple of decent guns in here. Sorry, I think I bumped the mic there. But I got a couple of decent weapons in here, but I don't think I'm really going to give him anything. The only thing I'm going to swap out is the flashlight's kind of garbage. I'm going to give him a tack knife. The tack knives are pretty easy to find. Fairly easy to find early in the game. I'll show you where to find some of them. They're a 3-hit kill to the head, so they're one of the more efficient weapons, especially early on. And then there's all other categories of items, such as ammo, armor, food items, health items, and then your accessories, which would be like binoculars, like a symbol shows, or gun parts. And obviously guns. So we're just going to start off with these supplies. I'm not going to give him any other advantage other than just a knife. I don't think that's such a bad thing for him to start out with. So I'm going to hop into the server. And as you can see, there's all kinds of servers that you can jump into. These ones are all locked. You do have the option of renting your own server, which is pretty nice. I'm in a group of guys right now who are renting a server so that we can do a lot of farming. That way we can build up a little bit of our backlog, and then we can jump in and do some PvP eventually on the public servers. So I'm going to jump into my private server. With it should be empty right now. I don't believe that my guys are on. And I'll be right back, and we'll continue from there. Alright, for the third time now, let's try this again. The first 2 times I tried, it seemed that this little throat cold or whatever this is keeps catching up to me, and I had to go get myself a glass of water because I was coughing like a little bitch. So now that I've got my water, we're ready to continue. So you can get spawned into several points in the map. This one right here is actually right outside of Fallsdale. When you press M, you pull up your map. There apparently is going to be more than one map, but this is the only one at the moment. This is Colorado. To give you an idea of just the breadth of this map, to go from the hidden forest down here all the way up to here at Candler's Cabin, my best guess, since there's no vehicles and you have to do all your moving on foot, you're probably looking at least a 30 to 45 minute walk to get all the way up there. So there is a lot of landscape to explore, and there's a fair amount of unmarked landmarks too. Not a whole lot, but they're there. We're actually spawned at one of them right now, which is a construction site right outside the town of Fallsdale. Now, a few things about the map. Obviously, you can see major highways listed here. Everything with a name, for the most part, with the exception of, I think, maybe 2 places. As long as there is a name there, you're going to find loot there. A few, the one I can think of right away is Devil's Pass. I don't believe there's any loot spawns there. I don't exactly know why it's even named. There's a lot of things about this game that are basically not implemented because it's essentially an alpha. But the stuff that's there is fairly enjoyable. I mean, I grew up on a lot of the loot and grind RPGs, especially Diablo 2. So any game where I can loot is pretty much going to be an addiction for me. So anyways, here we are. We're spawned right outside. This is what your HUD looks like. You can obviously cycle through items there. By pressing I, you can check your inventory. You do have to manage your weight. One of the things that you want to find right off the bat, aside from a weapon, is you want to find a backpack. Starting off with a small backpack, you don't really get a lot of space, so that's one of the first things you want to find. So this is actually a pretty decent spawn. As far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know, there are still no zombies that spawn here. So we can just go ahead and jog right in, because one of the things you'll notice right off the bat are these 2 bars up here. This is how visual you are, and this is how audible you are. So, as you could probably guess, there is a fair bit of stealth that factors into this game, but just with zombies, really. If you're PvPing, anybody with a decent headset can hear you coming if you're just running everywhere. If you're creeping along, not so much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sneak up here real quick, see if we can find any food, any drink items. Because another thing you can see is right down here. This is my hunger, and down here is my thirst. So I want to make sure I monitor those as well. And there's nothing up here, it looks like. The fall damage is a little weird in this game. I'm pretty sure I can fall from there and take none, but just for the sake of not fucking up too much, I'm just gonna do the old-fashioned way and walk down here. Vehicles are a good place to check for food or water items. Right then and there, we're already finding a can of soup. That's actually a really good item. It heals a good amount of hunger, a little bit of thirst, and it heals a little bit. There's not a lot of food and drink items that do all that. So, all right, what are we looking at? We got a good little spawn in here. So we'll take the shovel. Flashlights basically have no use. They're just awful. So I don't need 2 shovels, but I'll take that one. The shovel's an okay weapon, but if you're able to give your guy something better like a tack knife, which is faster, then I'd probably stick with that. So we already checked over there. The construction site, there's a decent amount of stuff to check here too. If you spawn up in this place, there's not a whole lot of great things to find, but the nice thing, once again, is that it's empty. You're not really going to find anybody up here. And I'll go ahead and grab this hard hat, because I want to look like a badass construction worker. Although, it really just makes me look like I should be in the YMCA, especially with this fucking jacket. I mean, look at this guy. Like I said earlier, he looks like a fucking Power Ranger. Oh. Alright. Obviously, as you can see, when I run, my visibility goes all the way to its peak, and my audibility goes... Audibility, that's probably not even a fucking word. We're making up shit now. The ability for other creatures, for the zombies to hear me, goes up significantly. Oh, thank God, another hard hat. It's entirely worth it now. Stuff usually doesn't spawn in this area. I've seen stuff spawn over there. The game is a little weird because there are spawn and despawn times where you'll come in and an area will be completely empty, and then you'll come in another time and it will be just jacked with loot. So let's see what we have here. We got a flashlight and a wrench. I'll just take the wrench just for giggles. It's another new weapon. Also not that great. The tack knife is still pretty awesome early on. Looks like just another wrench. Yep. So we'll just go ahead and drop down here. There's not a whole lot else to find around here. Now, if you came through this area and you found no melee weapons, either you're not looking hard enough or you just got some seriously bad luck. Because, oh, holy lag spike. Been having some heating issues recently with this computer. Gonna have to upgrade the fan soon, definitely. It's been, especially when I've got the recording software going, it does not like me. I might just end up having to put the settings on low. There's a few items I wouldn't bother with unless you're extremely low on health. Something like a bag of chips, which is a health item, or not a health item, a hunger item. They're not bad for healing a little bit of hunger, but they're actually going to reduce your thirst. So I probably would advise against taking those. It's not really going to help you a whole lot. There's not a whole lot to gain from it. As you can see, your character does not move at a very fast pace. Even when you're running, you're going at basically a realistic run. You're not going to be any superhuman kind of speed. And since there's no running integrated into the there's no vehicles implemented yet, you can't get too far very quickly. So rather than show you this whole jog, I'm just going to go ahead and cut right to it. Alright, and here we are in Fallsdale. One of the things you want to pay attention to as well, when you go to the map or the menu screen, you'll see you've got a timer down there. So right now it's about 8 o'clock, or 8:45 this server's time, so it's going to get a little darker in a little while. Now, as you can see, we got a couple of undead around here. The hit detection, I'm not going to lie to you, the hit detection is just awful. The hit detection is terrible. You'll basically learn how to dance around these guys. You can see how as I'm ducking, I'm relatively invisible to this guy until he gets close enough, but as I stand and move, he knows I'm right there. So when these guys engage you, you want to aim up and kind of spin around them a little bit. And down he goes. I must have hit him a little lower than the head because it should have been I believe it should have been 2 shots, but it might be 3 until I get my first melee damage increase, which is one of the skills in the tree there. You never want to run into one of these towns. Basically just keep your finger away from the shift button the whole time you're here, or in any place with a significant amount of zombies. If you were to imagine your aggro radius, or the radius in which you would attract attention, it's probably somewhere in about this range. To give a really rough estimate, if you're jogging, it goes up to at least about this range. So if there was a guy probably right in front of this building right here, and I jog towards him, there's a good chance he's going to come running at me. And you can imagine with that kind of space, the amount of company we're going to get. So when you come into any town, the first thing you want to look for is a clinic. I don't believe there's a clinic here in Fallsdale. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure there isn't, though. These places are also really good. Right here, we've just got your basic... It says pawn shop, but this is basically just a little convenience store. We're going to take care of her. I'm sure you picked up on it by now, but right down here you've also got your health. You definitely want to keep an eye on that, because at the beginning of the game, with no skills or no health buffs or damage reduction or anything like that, we'll take some of that water. Without any help from those kind of things, you're probably going to take maybe 3 hits before you die. So you want to be extra careful. Yeah, down you go. So it does look like it's about a 3-hit kill. So it must be after the first hit. And actually, ammo is fairly uncommon, so that's pretty decent. What'd that say, 22? Yeah, for the Kruger. The Kruger pistol and the Kruger rifle are pretty common. Don't worry about saving those, really. The only thing that I would advise against, and I'm assuming that people will pick up on this fairly quickly, but you really don't want to discharge firearms in these places either. I got a little boonie hat here. I think I'm gonna use that instead of my little construction hat. Mini Saints are another food item. They're pretty decent. They're one of the only food items I pick up aside from granola bars. Granola bars, it does not say here, but they actually will heal about a third, maybe about a quarter, a little over a quarter of your stamina. So they're pretty awesome to have if you're running long distances and you don't feel like stopping and walking. Granola bars will give you that extra boost. But Mini Saints are pretty good food items. They just relieve hunger. They don't have any negatives. So I would go ahead and pick those up. These areas right here, and we've got our first gun, which is awesome. Now the Mossberg is a pretty decent gun. You'll see a lot of people use it in PvP when they're holding down houses. For zombie removal, I would not suggest it. In my own experience, I've found it's extremely unreliable. It does not have a consistency that I'd like it to have. I have actually shot close range and missed not only once but twice. So when I say the hit detection and just the overall controls of the game are very choppy, I'm not kidding. A shotgun like that should just blow anything away right in front of it, and it does not always happen that way. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and drink my water to heal up my thirst. Juice is another really good item. Juice will actually heal a little bit of hunger, a little bit of water, a little bit of thirst, I mean, as well as a little bit of your health. So it's one of those trifecta items, if you want to call it that. Tuna is also a really good item. I'm probably just going to go ahead and drop my shovel, and we'll take that. And there's a couple of tricks you can have. If you aggro a zombie like this, they're going to try to find a path to get in. As soon as she walks in here, I can basically just jog right out, and she's going to have to turn herself around again. So if you need to distract a zombie, or if you're low on health, you can do something like that to pull them away or to get their attention somewhere else. And down she goes. Alright, that's a good item right there. Health items are very good to have. So we'll drop the wrench. We'll take the painkillers, because in case we take any damage, we don't want to be at low health for very long. Alright, can take another water. Oh crap, that's right, I drank the other one. Pasta is a really good health item. I don't believe it heals. I don't believe it heals at all, though. So, it's not that big a deal to use it. I'd rather have the cans of soup, just because they do a little bit more overall. Alright, now as you can see, there are a few of these guys lurking around out here. Another flashlight. Alright, I'll basically, because at this point right now, I'm thinking that I'm going to circle around this way and go up to Mountain Crest, because I spawned in a decent area, but the two best places to loot when you're new to the game are Clearview and Smallville. The only big deal is that they're very popular PvP spots, so you don't want to hang around there too long on a public server, or you want to go there when the server's very quiet. So, really quickly, I'm just going to show you exactly what you do when you run. So, there's only a few guys around me. You might not even see more than this guy, and I think there was a guy over there, but he might be hovering somewhere else right now. But, just watch. And now you see, we're already attracting guys that are floating onto the sides of the screen, and they're just coming right towards me. Now, you can outrun these guys pretty easily, but you're going to end up burning pretty much your entire stamina bar. So, I would say overall, don't be afraid to run if you have to get out of an area. I would just say make sure that you have got a pretty clear path, because if you do not, you're just going to end up running into sleepers, which are zombies that are just laying down in the woods or laying down in the road, and you're not going to see them until you walk over them 9 times out of 10. Unless you're one of those guys that likes to play the game on low settings, which some people do, which removes the foliage, where you can see all of them laying around. you're not going to catch them. So rather than show you once again this nice gigantic walk to the next area, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and continue up this way. I'm going to go into Mountain Crest. I'll show you a little town there. There's a few nice places to loot there. It's definitely not something that I would loot continuously. One of my favorite runs is to go from the Blue Ridge, which is a safe zone. Any of these places circled in red are safe zones. It means that when you go there, you can't die, you can't take any damage, even from other players. So if you're on a excuse me, a public server, those places are completely safe. As far as I'm concerned, there's no hackers that can even get you there, and hackers are a pretty big problem in this game. I could talk about that next episode. But I think we'll call it an episode here. So this is the first part of the beginner's guide, and I'll swing up this way. I'll show you Mountain Crest, and then I'll also show you Smallville and Clearview, which are two of the better places to farm for loot. One of the best places to farm for military loot that's also fairly easy to clear is Camp Splinter, which is down here. So what I'm going to do, once again, is I'll make my way up that way, and by the time we get to the next episode, I should be able to show you some of those areas. So obviously, let me know what you think of the video. Thumb it up, thumb it down, doesn't matter. I want to know what you think. Any ideas for any future videos or anything you want to know. Like I said, the game is in alpha. There's still a fair bit to learn about the game. There's still a fair bit that's going to come out, and they do update it fairly frequently. It is kind of annoying because they have a reputation to update it and not actually tell people what they've updated. So once again, I don't really have the developers in high regards. I don't think anybody does. I don't think anybody that plays it or anybody that actually likes it even supports the developers. So they've got a long way to go. They've got a long way to go before they earn any more trust with the players, and especially the gaming media. So I'll continue on my little jog here. Once again, let me know what you think about the video. Share it with anybody that you know that plays War Z, and if you're interested in playing War Z or joining a clan, let me know. I'm definitely looking to add some more players to my list because it's a ton of fun when you have more than one person. At least for me, I think it's a ton of fun. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you next episode. Bye-bye.